A couple months ago, I was shopping for an Airbnb and I found an Airbnb that I wanted. I'm actually recording this in an Airbnb right now, but I found an Airbnb that I wanted and I reserved the Airbnb. Now, what I didn't realize what was going to happen was they took a huge deposit, which I didn't really think that was a big deal because I was going to take that Airbnb anyways. The Airbnb was listed as a 3-bedroom. I needed a 3-bedroom Airbnb. And then that same day, as soon as I made that reservation, the host messaged me saying essentially that the 3rd bedroom wasn't a real bedroom. It was just a den and it wasn't a real room. So that wasn't going to work for me. So I said, okay, this is not the right Airbnb for me. I want to cancel the reservation. And they said, sure, you can cancel the reservation, but the $5,000 deposit you paid is non-refundable and you can't get that back. This was like a matter of hours of me making this quote unquote reservation. Now, I was a little bit confused because number one, that's not what you advertised. Number two, I just made this reservation. And number three, there was no back and forth. I thought I was just reserving the days. So I just didn't understand how that process worked. So I tried to file for a refund. The host refused to give it to me. I talked to Airbnb. Airbnb said that they can't do anything because it was against the host's policies. Now, that seemed a little strange to me. So I called up my credit card company. I told them what was going on. And they said, don't worry, Mr. Singh, we'll take care of it. And that $5,000 deposit that I paid was refunded to me by my credit card company pretty soon. I don't know if it was a number of days, maybe it was a week, but it was pretty soon that they got that money from me back. And then the credit card company then went after Airbnb and they got the money back for me. So I like credit cards because credit cards offer a lot of perks. But if you have to pay interest on your credit card, you are using your credit card the wrong way, and you are the one that's paying for everybody else's perks. See, credit cards are just a medium of exchange. When I go out and I buy something, if I want to buy a microphone, a laptop, I want to buy anything, I can pay it with cash, I can pay it with a debit card, or I can pay it with a credit card. I guess I could also pay with a check. But I like credit cards because, well, I know how to spend money. I'm very disciplined with my money, and credit cards give me perks. Now, I want to make sure I clarify this. I love Dave Ramsey. When I was getting started on my financial journey, I read first Robert Kiyosaki's books, then I read Dave Ramsey's books, and I loved Total Money Makeover, EntreLeadership. If you have not read those books, you have to read those books. Those are great books on now how to spend your money the right way. And when I read those books, I stayed away from credit cards for a long time because he scared the crap out of me out of using credit cards, which is great for many people. But as I started to go through my financial education journey, I realized I'm a very disciplined spender. I will not spend more money than I have or that I need to just because I get some cash back. But I also spend a lot of money. I mean, I have to spend a lot of money in my business. I have high expenses. I might as well get some perks for the expenses that I have to make anyways. And that's where having the right medium of exchange for me makes sense. For me, a credit card as a medium of exchange makes sense because now I get perks. The perks that I get is number one, I get cash back on every purchase that I make. Number two, I get spending protection, fraud protection, purchase protection, because if something happens like I just talked about with the Airbnb situation, well, I can call up my credit card company and then I know that they'll take care of me. And I've had multiple issues in the past that I've talked about where I was scammed or where something happened and I did not get my product, I spent money, and my credit card company was the one that then refunded the purchase, where previously debit cards didn't do that for me. Now, I know debit cards have become much more advanced in the last number of years since I first started using debit cards. But for me, when I first used debit cards, they didn't have all those features and I had lost a lot of money because I used a debit card. And then the third thing, especially once you start to travel more, is credit cards can also provide you with a lot of upgrades. Now, of course, it comes at a price. Like I pay a lot of money for my annual credit card fees for my annual upgrades and all that, like my Amex Platinum. I'm not sponsored by any of these companies. I'm just telling you what I use. Amex Platinum, I think, is like $700 a year or something. Everyone's trying to play the game of how do I get my $700 back? I really don't care. I'm not trying to get my money back. I like the luxury that it provides because the luxury for me is when I go to an airport, because I travel a lot, I get access into the airport lounges. I get access to TSA PreCheck. They paid for my Clear membership. Now when I go to the lounge, I can get there much quicker because I don't got to stand in the same airport line that I used to. I can just kind of run through the line quickly. Now I go into the airport lounge, I can eat, I can hang out there, I can do my work. Then when I get onto the plane, well, sometimes I might get upgrades, but I don't think that really has much to do with the Amex Platinum. But then when I get to where I got to go, it gives me Hertz upgrades, it gives me Marriott upgrades, it gives me Hilton upgrades. Those things have value to me. So for me, it's worth the price. I'm not sitting here trying to play the game of how do I get my money back, and I know some people do, and that's fine if you do. But for me, it gives me a particular value. It gives me perks and things that I like. That's why I use a credit card. Again, I'm not going to spend money that I don't have. I'm never going to pay a penny in interest. If I was paying a penny in interest, this would absolutely not be worth it. The interest is not worth the perks. So if you're paying interest, you're paying for everybody else's perks. And this is where you have to understand how to use a credit card the right way, because if you're using a credit card and now you're in credit card debt, you got to get rid of the credit card. You're using a credit card the wrong way, and the interest will never be worth it when you have to pay the interest to get the perks. I like credit cards because, well, when I make my purchases, I'm also getting cash back. And this cash back can be an investment bonus for me at the end of the year. It could be a way for me to just have a free vacation. It could do a lot of different things. I like those things. Now, when I use a credit card, I'm just going to be very transparent with you. Again, I'm not sponsored by any of these credit card companies. I'm just telling you what I use and what I do. I have 3 different general categories of credit cards. I have my personal cashback credit cards. I have my business credit cards, and then I have travel credit cards. I am not the best when it comes to travel or credit card hacking. I just don't spend a lot of time trying to figure that out. So I'm going to be very honest with you there. I like cashback. So when I have my personal expenses, when I go out and I go pump gas or go get groceries or do my personal expenses, I'm just going to put that on my personal credit card, which is going to give me the best cash back. That's all I'm looking for, period. I don't really care about all the other stuff. I'm just getting cash back for my expenses because I like the cash back and I like the purchase protection, period. When it comes to my business, same thing. I have separate sets of business cards for my businesses, my real estate investment businesses, entities, my businesses here, Briefs Media, Minority Mindset, all have their own credit cards. Now those credit cards, again, my goal is just cash back. I have a lot of expenses in my business, whether it's advertising, whether it's softwares, technologies, everything in between. There's a lot of expenses that are needed. Put those on the credit card because I have to make those expenses as it is, but I get 2% cash back for every dollar that I spend. So if I spend $100,000 over the course of a year, that's $2,000 in cash back for doing nothing except making the expenses that I had to make anyways with a credit card. The third thing are my travel credit cards. Now with these travel credit cards, I have fees on these cards. Now again, some people like to play that game of trying to hack the credit card. How do you get the best value out of it? For me, it's just a luxury. I pay for luxury things because it provides the value to me. The value to me with my travel cards is number one, getting access into the travel lounges, getting through TSA PreCheck and clear, and then having access to upgrades, things like rental car upgrades, having things like hotel upgrades. I use those hotel upgrades a lot. I have spent a lot of nights in hotels in the past couple of years. And it's kind of funny because more than a couple of years ago, I don't know how many years ago, we'll go back a number of years where I used to go, and when I used to go and try to find a hotel, the number one thing that I would look at is the price. I'm going to jump back into the video in just 1 second, but before we do, if you are an investor and you're looking for an easy and free way to stay up to date on what's happening in the top financial news, from the economy to the housing market to the stock market to the crypto market to the global economy, then you have to check out Market Briefs. Market Briefs is my free financial newsletter that I created that will keep you up to date on what's happening in the financial news. You can read the newsletter in less than 5 minutes every morning. It's a fun and easy to read email, and it's completely free. So if you haven't joined Market Briefs yet, I got the link to how you can join down in the description below. Red Roof Inn, whatever it was, the cheapest hotels that I could find on the side of the highway for $29 a night, $39 a night, maybe $49 a night, and then we'd pack as many people as possible into that one hotel room. I never cared about which hotel beds were there. I never cared about what the rooms looked like. I just wanted a place to sleep that wasn't going to cost me money. And then fast forward a few years, I remember this very vividly because it was the weirdest thing ever. My wife and I went to Chicago, and we stayed in this place called the Embassy Suites. And this was like right around the time we had just gotten married, and we stayed at the Embassy Suites. And I was like, dude, I went to my wife and I was like, did you sleep okay last night? She was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, me too. I slept really good. Like I never slept good in hotel beds ever. And I was like, I fell asleep and I stayed asleep the entire night, and I just woke up and I was like, I feel really good. She was like, yeah, that was really weird. Now, so that happened. Then we were getting a new mattress for our house, and we were talking about which mattress to get. And it was kind of funny because I still remember the Embassy Suites bed. And I was like, dude, something was up with that bed and that mattress because I slept really good. So true story, I called up the Embassy Suites in Chicago and I asked them which mattresses they have. The lady who picked up the phone, the receptionist, was really confused and she was like, check our website. And what I realized was I wasn't the only one asking these questions. And I started realizing that Embassy Suites has their own line of mattresses that they use. And I saw that certain hotel brands like Hotels and Marriott's carry a certain standard with which mattresses they use. So now I was like, whoa, I did not know that. Some hotels really care about the sleep that their guests get. Now, me as a business person, as an entrepreneur, when I have a lot of things to do, it helps when I get a good night of rest. So maybe it's worth it for me, instead of paying the $29 or $39 a night for the motel or hotel, for me to just pay the $200, $250 a night, $300 a night, maybe $500 a night, whatever it might be, for a nicer hotel room. That way I get a nicer bed. And before, that was like the craziest decision. Why the heck would I pay $300 a night for a hotel when I can get a hotel for $30 a night? It made no sense to me. But then I realized that the quality of your sleep matters. And that was when I realized, oh, it's kind of nice staying at nicer hotels, which didn't make sense to me before. And now with certain credit cards, you can also get free upgrades when you stay at some place like a Hilton or a Marriott. So for me, now, because I like to get a good night of sleep when I go to a hotel, I like the upgrades because I would get more space. I have maybe sometimes a suite for free or for a free upgrade because I have that credit card. So that has value to me. But again, it has to be in the right stage of where you are in your career and in your life. And if you're in a stage in your career where you can't manage your credit cards, you can't spend your money correctly, you can't control your spending, don't get a credit card. What are you talking about? It's not worth it. Stop spending money that you shouldn't because you think that it's a money printing piece of plastic. Stop that. Don't get a credit card. If now you feel like you are at a stage where you can control your spending, well, start by getting a free credit card. That's going to give you some cash back. That's going to give you that purchase protection. That's going to give you some of those rewards. Start doing that. As you start to grow, if you have a business, you can obviously get your own business credit card. But then if you keep growing and you start to build more wealth and you start to travel more, well, then you can look at potentially getting a travel card for yourself as well. Now, there's travel cards that are free as well. I don't know too much. I'm not a travel card hacker, okay? There's other people on the YouTube that do it way better than I do. So I'm not going to sit here and try to do an analysis of credit cards here. But there are some free travel cards out there that will allow you to get some benefits without having to pay an annual fee. Some will be maybe $100. It starts to kind of grow from there where you can find the right credit card for you. But it has to be at the right stage of where you are. If you're struggling to make your bills and now you're trying to figure out what's the best travel card to spend money on, you're looking at it the wrong way. First, control your spending. Then work to build your wealth. Start investing your money. Then, as you start to build that wealth, now you can start looking at things like luxury, right? Luxury is not, you don't start making money and then figure out, oh, what's the best luxury item I should get? No, you got to make money. You got to invest your money. You got to build your wealth. Once you build some wealth, now you can start looking at luxury. The mistake that so many people make is to start spending money on luxury before they even make any money. And that's what gets people so caught up into that system of getting into credit card debt or getting into debt, is you want the nice things today before you have earned it. And luxury is great. It's awesome. It's nice to be able to sit and have comfort when you fly. It's nice to be able to have a nice rental car. It's nice to be able to have a nice hotel. But you got to do the things you got to do before you can get there. Don't sacrifice your wealth just so you can have a nice rental car or a nice hotel for 2 nights. Work your way there and figure out when is the right time for you to start spending money on the nicer hotels. And this is where, again, it goes back to just understanding you, what's important to you right now. First, work on controlling the spending, then work to earn more money, then work to invest that money, then work to build that wealth. As you build that wealth, now you can start looking for ways that you can start spending money differently, that we can start enjoying things and figure out what's enjoyable to you. If you want to be a successful investor, there are 10 mindset traits that every successful investor has that I'm going to go over in this video. And number 1, if you want to be a successful investor, being avoiding the shiny object syndrome. Now, when I say shiny object syndrome, I don't mean now you take your money and you go out and buy fancy cars and nice things because that's the attractive thing to